Good night.
Good morning, everyone.
I'm doing fine.
Y'all recall from the last couple of weeks, we talked about the miracles, kind of talked about John the Baptist. We'll get some more volume in just a minute. And what else did we talk about? We talked about the miracles that are kind of not like New Testament miracles. That's sort of where we are. And on your screen there, you can kind of see what we're going to focus on today. It's not specific to mission, but you'll see. My lesson titles are kind of just we'll bet you there'll be about 10 of those. I'll wait for those to finish. I can't compete with emergency. Yeah, we can answer alert somewhere in Dallas.
Doing okay this morning?
Doing okay.
How usually?
So far,
Good. Good. You all right?
all right, so
That's my check, fellows.
we're going to start off with
I'm still working on it.
just maybe some input from you. I've got a few people that I've thought of course, when I was making the lesson about the mission-oriented people. Actually, you might want to, if you can think of someone who's mission-oriented that's not a biblical character, that's fine too. I actually have one or two of those in my list as well. But if you were thinking about making this Bible lesson over mission-oriented people, who would come to mind through the scriptures that you suggest?
A little more.
Paul, say Peter.
You gotta look at Jonah's mission if he had to be persuaded to do it.
Jonah, Noah, who else? Yeah, kind of hard to go through that study very far without thinking about Jesus. Moses, I was thinking about Moses a little bit.
Joseph.
Joseph, for sure. Yeah, John the Baptist, for sure. My lesson kind of. Yeah. John the Baptist was kind of where I started my lesson. So yeah, he, as far as the missionary goes, he's right up there in the top.
What about Samson?
Samson?
I'm good.
Well, there's a lot of them actually. I even put some on my list that are maybes too. So yeah, I'll put Elijah in my.
From before birth.
Elijah, we'll get there.
On the other side, how about the Pharisees?
Yeah, that's true. There are some people who have mission. We can approve of.
The tent maker couple.
Let's see what's next. I don't know. All right, Terry, if you're able to advance it manually, we would have to do that. I'm not going to worry about it. Oh, there's something. Who is that? Yeah, that's pretty easy, right? Sorry, I couldn't find the picture that would make it hard to identify Moses. So yeah, he's one of the ones that I first thought of, when I began to study. Now, next slide, we'll see if maybe you can figure out, this one is probably pretty easy too. Yeah, this is Abraham. If you thought about somebody who's on a mission, I don't know, maybe it's not him, but he sure had to wait a while for some things in his life. He had to wait 25 years. But our next slide is also one that I put sometimes. Oh, do you know who this one is?
Elijah.
Yeah, it's Elijah. He's being fed by the ravens. I put sometimes on Elijah. Like I said, there's not everybody, we wouldn't come up with the exact same list if we were coming up with mission-oriented people. But at times, you know, Elijah was very mission-oriented. Sometimes not so much. Next slide for non-biblical. I mean, about just a picture of Walt Disney with it. I don't know who he is. But mildly interesting just because of the number of, I don't know, failures he had. But, you know, he did have a mission. His mission was started at a young age. He was drawing cartoons at 9 years old. He said he had this Mickey, well, he had so many failures, so he went over 300 times to try to get his Mickey Mouse themed cartoon funded, basically, before somebody finally said yes to it. 300 times, that's a lot of no's about his cartoon. The next slide is also not biblical. And the reason I put this one on here is because, Great Wall of China. The reason that's on there is because the mission, it took 2,000 years to build this wall. That is one long building project. And we thought the interstate system in the United States took a long time, which is still the most expensive. It's like billions and billions of dollars in our interstate system. And next slide. Oh, okay.
I said, there's so many thousand lives that are buried in.
Oh, yeah. Yes, thousands and thousands, yeah. If not into the million. In fact, I read something, Miss Nancy, I believe it. I think it's around 2 million people died building that wall. Now, this one I've never even heard of. Some of y'all who are more archaeological savvy might know what this is. Yeah, it's in the Middle East. Or kind of, so, well, that's where it is. The name of it, it's in Petra, right? So, but the name of it, I don't even look how to pronounce it, but I forgot to try it. Al-Kazna is the best I can do, which is not right. But anyway, it says it took about 850 years. That's like it's like 40 yards high right there. So when you walk up to it, you're really small looking at it. But 850-year project is a long time. And one more non-biblical one, and we'll get next slide, and we'll get back to work on our lesson. Skip one. All right, just didn't get put in there. Forward. All right, we'll start right there. We have, these are the ones that I wrote down when I was just immediately thinking of who I want to put in the lesson. Somebody mentioned Noah. What was Noah's? This is a question we get to think. What was his job? And what was his mission?
He was a preacher.
He did preach for, I don't know, do we want to call that his job or his mission? I know, I'm kind of splitting hairs. I'll say his job was building an ark, right? I don't know, that's kind of a mission. It was told to him by God, so I don't know that he really come across a big distance there. What about, he was a father, right?
His mission was to save his family, and what God told him, be sure he got the ark, his job built to save mankind, save the animals that God told together. It was all through the grace of God that he had this power and ability to do it.
No, it's number one. Well, and I did put these in order, but I put Abraham in here. He definitely had, I think he was mission oriented, but once again, he had to be a patient person, because he just had to wait 25 years before really, probably he even saw any kind of start to his mission, to be the father of nations. And Elijah, again, like I said before, I just put at times, he was really on fire, for God at times, and going up against, what was it, 450 prophets. So he had his moments. And I put Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in there just because I like the story. I don't really know that you get to do that when you're teaching. I don't know that they were mission oriented. I don't know that they were not. I know they sure were. Yeah, sometimes it is. Faithfulness and missions are, again, it's hard to differentiate. But they gave one of the best answers that I know of, because it would be something like I would have to say. They said, well, we don't know whether God is going to rescue us from this fiery furnace. That's what they said. They said they didn't know. But they said, I'll tell you what I do know. To know, we're not going to bow down to this image. Let's see. And of course, John the Baptist, Job, and I was just talking about the faithfulness. His mission was faithfulness, but I really thought he needed to be in there. And Paul, of course, that Joe mentioned, his whole life really was a mission for God. All right, and next slide, if you can find it.
Well, we just saw you just think about the gospel to the Gentiles. You did.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right. So number 7, Moses, of course, he had a long mission of leading people to the promised land, right? That's what I'm going to put his mission at today. But the planners got to lead them through the wilderness. That couldn't have been a whole lot of fun. And Esther, the only woman on my list, and I put no genocide on her watch. She certainly had a mission she had to do, more important than some of the others. They were, well, we don't know. They said they were going to destroy all of them, every single one. And I guess for purposes of discussion, we probably need to come across some sort of definition for the word mission. What do you have an idea of what you think you would like to define it as from a biblical standpoint?
It's an objective. It's something that they felt or knew that needed to be done, that needed to be accomplished.
Yeah, I think, and I was trying to draw a distinction between, I guess, a job and a mission. And why I was doing that was kind of help us with our definition. We have jobs, short-term things that we do. And then we have, I think a mission has to be something long-term, right? For us as Christians, it has to be something that, a plan that God has for you in your life. In other words, what God has called you to be. Yes.
See, it's a compelling goal because it's something in it that drives you to work toward it.
Compelling goal. This plan is going to basically cover, our lifespan. It's kind of my definition of what a mission would be.
It'd be a purpose, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, if you have a mission, and if you don't react to it, it's not a mission. You've got to go on a mission.
Kind of like,
You've got to go with your purpose.
Jonah was, we were talking about Jonah, didn't necessarily jump on that mission immediately. All right.
Moses.
Yeah, Moses.
Moses.
Yeah, Moses had he had a thing or two in his mind, he needed to get worked out before he went to try to get these people out. He wasn't too convinced himself, was he?
As long as he didn't have to come up with the words and with the guidance, I think physically and mentally, he could have led them out. But he knew that there would be such a huge number that there would be obstacles
Oh,
getting
sure.
through to them and having them believe that he could take care of them.
I gotta think that, Moses was, one of the most highly educated people in all the world at that time. And, for him to say that he was slow of speech, I think was a flimsy excuse, which is this basically the skin of a reason stuck to the lie. He was looking for a way out. He had seen failure before, and he was afraid of failure again. And God was not gonna let him off the hook there, on either penny. Then what a thorn in the flesh he had when he got Aaron as his sidekick, who basically stood in his way every opportunity he had.
Yeah, his Aaron and Miriam both were questionable sidekicks at times. So my next question, I'm not gonna fool the slides anymore, Terry, unless you do see them.
Larry, do we, as we sit right here in this room today, do we not all have a mission to do?
Oh, I think so.
By the great commission that Jesus gave us, we have that mission, that purpose in life that we serve as a Christian, take the word forward, preaching, teaching, baptizing, this and that.
Yeah, and I think that's what I sort of like to talk about is, well, the easy question is, do we have one? And maybe my next question, which is, I don't know, pretty direct, but do you want one? Sometimes we find ourselves in our spiritual life of maybe we don't want one as much as we know we should. We know we have things to do, but we're not all, we're kind of like Elijah and Jonah, and we have our moments, as the saying goes, hopefully. But when you look at, I don't know, everything that goes on, it really is hard to pin down a mission. We can have missions like, well, we know what missions we should have. We should love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself. There's nothing wrong with those missions. If that's not at least part of your mission, then you're definitely missing out on something. But I guess what I'm talking a little bit more, or want to discuss a little bit more, is more of a personal mission, something that you can do. We know, we talked about miracles, talked about John the Baptist. We know we don't have to do miracles to be approved of by God. And, I don't think we have to have missions like, grandiose missions, eliminating world hunger or doing away with hatred in the world. That would be nice. If you got that ability, go for that one. I approve. But what about personal missions? Something that you can do. It's saying for any kind of goal you might set in life, you don't want to set your New Year's resolution on too high, because just immediate failure is coming along with that one.
Parents should have a mission of getting their children to heaven. And that can be a lifelong thing.
It's a possibility.
It could be 20 years or it could be forever. Still being an example to them and being a mentor to them and being the kind of parent that they will come to for advice. And as we're older, hopefully we have a little more wisdom.
Hopefully.
Like, my mission for teaching, you look at it, you don't do it for the money, and you do it, but as a teacher, we all have as a teacher, that's a mission. God gives us all talents, And so like for me, I mean, my mission is to equip children with the skills that they need to be able to be successful as they go through life. And I can do it haphazardly, or, you know, I have to do it always to the best of my ability. Or what's the purpose if I'm not doing it to help them?
And there are, like I was mentioning earlier, we do have jobs that are, you know, a short term, like, you know, you don't want to identify your whole purpose in life, you know, as a parent raising children. You were saying it may be a lifetime event. Yes, it may, but some people, you've seen some people, that is their role, and that's the only thing that matters. And when their kids get out of the house, it's a sad thing for them. They don't know what to do, because they're
That
one.
can be part of a bigger picture of converting everybody around you.
Yeah.
And following God.
If your entire mission is centered around your children, then, well, like in a way, there's nothing wrong with that. But if that's the sum total of it, it's not big enough for what God has planned for you.
Larry, I think if you get up every morning thinking how you can be a servant, that'll take care of a lot of things.
Oh, I agree. I think service and humility are very important concepts when we're thinking about our mission.
As you think about mission, think about talents. You may be the worst songwriter, you may be the best. As long as you, or whatever the thing is, as long as you keep trying new things, keep furthering your Christianity or in those around you, that would be a mission in itself, in all aspects, not just a single thing.
Yeah, and sometimes those, you know, those things that we try, they may have just been a job for us, and then we move on to something else. Maybe it wasn't the mission that God had planned for our entire lives. We don't know. Just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, we don't know for a fact, but we can, you know, try different things. But we can look at a few examples of missions of Jesus to kind of, I think, point us along the way of something. And we'll discuss maybe some more specific missions in a few minutes. And you'll have to look these verses up since I guess my slide shows that I loaded up for Terry didn't get downloaded properly. We could try it again, but it's not that important. Luke 5:30, I'm just going to read the verses to you. Luke 5:32 says, I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. This was one, these next few verses are just going to be some mission statements, I think are mission statements of Jesus. So, I'm not calling sinners to repentance. Who did Jesus hang out with? Yeah, he didn't have a whole lot of nice things to say about the scribes or the Pharisees, did he? So, you know, sometimes calling it the way things are is, I think, okay for some of us. In today's society, we tend not to want to speak badly about people, and I understand that. But yes.
Along this concept of mission work, I think if you think about your career you work, the years you work, if you focus on your job and conscientiously do the job to the best of your ability, you can make that can be a mission, and it can be helpful. You know, people who work in public safety, their job is to, you know, take care of their citizens. But they go out and they're helping people every day. And you try not to focus on the negative aspects of the job, but on the positive, you know, who you're actually helping as opposed to the difficulties of the job. And if you keep focused on what you're helping and what you're doing good, you're going to feel much better about yourself as you work through the years.
Yeah, I think, and this is just my opinion, I think in whatever job you have, I think you can say that you work for God. You may have a supervisor, and if you've got a job where you just cannot see that God fits in the picture anywhere, and you've got the wrong job. Switch to something else. Like I said, that is my opinion. I had recently, in my workplace, I think some real honesty problems with a supervisor. And I just told him, I said, I think you've forgotten, he's a Christian. I said, I think you've forgotten who you work for. So, none of that went over all that great, by the way. But he knew what I was talking about. And he agreed with it. But some people have, we have to be people of integrity. This had something to do with a sale of used equipment. I don't know what it is about sales and used things that brings out the worst in people. I really dislike dishonesty in dealing with it.
So used cars.
Yeah, I mean, that's, used cars, salespeople have a reputation. That's not, but just so you know, if you buy used cars, they can legally lie to you. I don't know if people are aware of that. It's perfectly legal for them to lie to you. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can go to court and you will lose. If you say, but they lied to me, they'll say, so, the case dismissed. Anyway, that's not my lesson. Matthew 20:28. Says, even as the Son of Man came not to serve, but to serve, not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many.
In Luke 5:32,
Mm-hmm.
it says, I came not to call the righteous, but sinners to repent.
That's right, and being Lord of all, it's just pretty amazing considering what he came to do. Lord of all, yet came to die for all. So probably, I don't know if you ever considered the personal benefit that Christ got from dying on the cross. I tell you, as far as I'm concerned, there really wasn't one. What benefit did Christ need, or what would he get from just his death on the cross? Well, the only benefit was to us. I guess this sounds more like a Lord's Supper devotional at this point, but anyway, I don't know that he received a benefit. What does the Lord of all need with a benefit to something? His only concern was for us at that point. Luke 19:10 says, for the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. I think we could apply that to our mission, right? I mean, some of these things we're reading, we can definitely apply to our own lives. Some not so much. Luke 9:39 says, Jesus said, for judgment I came into the world, that those who do not see may see, and those who see may become blind. Well, there's a statement that's kind of unusual, right? I wonder sometimes if we remember the parable of the sower, the gospel was sown and only certain people responded, right? Or certain type of people. And I think when the light of truth is shown upon people, only certain people are going to respond to that. Some people, will appreciate the light, and some will be blinded by it. I think is what this passage is saying. But that one we could apply to ourselves. We can shine the light of truth. John 12:47 says, if anyone hears my word and does not keep them, I do not judge him, for I did not come to judge the world, but to save it. You do learn a lot by studying, and there's an apparent contradiction in this verse that I found a lot of information on, believe it or not. It says, because other places it says that Jesus did come to judge the world, and I think for my own little study, for what it's worth to you, where it says here, did not come to judge, I think there will be a time that Christ is going to be the judge. This is another opinion of mine, that when it says that Jesus didn't come to judge the world, I think the first time he came, we could say that that's probably true. He came to save the world. But the second coming is going to be different. There's going to be judgment at the second coming. That's my thought on that. You can tell me yours if you have a different opinion on that.
there on the benefit of Jesus coming to earth. I don't know that really a benefit would be the right word, but you ever followed somebody or worked with somebody that they're just bossing the point, and you had that one boss that's in the ditch with you or in, you know, well, I had one that he jumped in the ditch with us in mud and $100,000 ostrich boots. That guy, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it, 'cause I just seen you do it. Well, he's experienced hunger and death and everything else that we do, so that would be a plus. He knows how we feel.
Yeah, well, I mean, and like I say, that was an opinion of mine. A personal benefit for Jesus is that he has a relationship with us because of the sacrifice he made, which is what he wanted. So you could argue that against my own statement. Let's see, John 18:37 says, then Pilate said to him, so you are a king? Jesus answered, you say that I am king. For this purpose I was born, for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice. I think we can do that one, right? Can we bear witness to the truth? I think that one could be applicable to us. One more. John 10:10. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they might have life and have it abundantly. All right, this one not so much. I don't think there's much we can do about this one. This was a job that Jesus could do. But there is talking about life abundantly. I've thought a lot about this verse over the years. There is a joy that should come from knowing our place as children of God. Jesus came to give us that inheritance. All right. The last little section here that is so good, even though you can't see it, is suggested mission. I do want to go over something specific that we here at this church could do, or you can do. And the first one I put on there is become a Bible scholar. And I'm aware that we're all called to study, but do you know what I mean by Bible scholar? I mean devoting hours per week to studying the Bible. It takes me hours to prepare for this lesson, believe it or not. It's a simple lesson, but it still takes me a long time. What if after this lesson was over, I still spent, hours per week studying the Bible? Give yourself a few years. Is there any downside to, becoming a biblical scholar? Not for us, not that I'm aware of. How could it not be anything but a blessing to really become familiar with the scriptures? And it'd be really good to have those Bible trivia things, to come up, nail them. Joe comes up with them every now and then. Everybody would want to be on your team when it comes around.
Well, I think no matter how many times you study the Bible, every time you pick it up and read it, you see something new.
Oh, for sure. Even verses that you're really familiar with can mean different things to us over our lifetime. Let's see. And I put in here, and this is a little modern terminology, which I don't typically use, but becoming a prayer warrior. And once again, I realize that we're all called to pray. That's not what I mean. I mean someone who dedicates very specific times that they might want to pray, such as Daniel did. What's wrong with that? We don't do that. But, why couldn't we do that? It worked for Daniel. People, when prayers are being mentioned that someone needs to pray, you'd be the one that they would go up and specifically tell, be sure and add this person to your prayer list because I want you to pray for them. Because you, I know, have dedicated your life to prayer. And there's no one in here who can't do that. I say we all look for things, that we can do. Sometimes we're disappointed when we when we don't have a mission. So might consider that one. Yes.
There's a Christian movie came out several years ago called The War Room, which she prayed, that's what that old room is for her to go and pray. It's a real good movie, everybody ought to see that.
Relationships is a two-way street, and I think praying, you talk to God. I think you build your relationship with God by praying Him.
Yeah, and that's, and most all of these, it's like, talking about becoming a Bible scholar, you're going to get a benefit beyond just the knowledge. And if you become a person who prays continually, you are so going to get a benefit beyond the fact that you just pray a lot.
And Larry, we got extra prayers. We were thanking for after the shit like that. Do you think?
What about this one? This one sounds so easy, but I don't mean it superficially, of course. How about love one another? Put that as number 3. Have you ever considered that you don't want to be loved by everyone? I asked some teenagers that one time. They didn't know what to do with that question. That was a tough one. In fact, I asked Bailey specifically. She was scared. She didn't know what to do because it's a big question for anybody. I'm just saying, when we want to love one another, what if you don't let people love you the way that they would like to? I'm just saying something to consider when we're talking about loving one another.
They love your souls.
Yes.
They love your souls. They may not love the outward appearance of how you act, how you talk, who your friends are, what your activities are, but they love your souls. And that is a way for the individual being prayed for could come about in a change to their life.
Someone,
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, we don't like to inconvenience people, so we don't like to ask for help. Some of us don't. We have an independent spirit, and sometimes pride gets in the way of wanting to ask for help.
well, this person, in my opinion, this person would be someone you would look at and you'd say, well, I don't know what they think about what I do, but I do know that they love me regardless. That's what this person is going to be. That's what this person in the congregation would be. And which one of you is not capable of that? There's a possibility you may not be capable, because it's hard. You're gonna have to work at that one. That's a lifelong one there. What about get a degree, PhD maybe, in edification or encouragement? You're gonna think of Barnabas and you're gonna say, yeah, we're like this. You know who Barnabas was, right? You know what he was known for? Son of encouragement. That is a mission. I'm telling you, that's a lifelong mission there. If you think you can do that, or you want to give that one a shot, you really should. Just be prepared for a lot of work, like all these are. But that is definitely something that any of us could do. What about, this kind of ties into the Great Commission, but I just put it, share your faith. There's nothing more important than that one. I think that one is called for by Christ himself. That is our mission. If we, I think we do have a concurrent mission. We're called to do more than one thing. But if we're only going to look at one thing, that has to be it, right? And all the other things, we tie them into that mission. What about become a Bible teacher? That's a mission, like Tina was talking about earlier. You've seen, I've taught for a little bit. I haven't taught for a lifetime, but you've seen people who've taught Bible for a lifetime, and I think that is definitely a mission. Whether it's kids or adults, that's something that any of us can do here. We have, just come talk to me if you want to teach a kids class. I can line you up with something. Donate your time, I put for number 7. Time is a very valuable commodity, because it's, once used, it's gone forever, as they say. Giving up our time is gonna be necessary for any mission you want to do, any of them that I've named so far. But, we all have seen and have volunteered for things, outside of this church building, and that needs to continue, of course. But, just to serve others, just like Christ did. He said he came to serve, and so should we, and that's kind of what Brother Roger was talking about, just being servants.
That goes along with go into the world. It didn't tell you you had to go across the seas, go across the street. Let people know where you stand. Carefully. You do that carefully with other individuals, because they are not receptive to Christianity as they might want to be later with influence.
You know what Dorcas or Tabitha was known for? Just sewing, right? Making garments. That is what she was known for. Do you think that took some time to do? Oh, especially like then, and I don't know how long she was doing it. Many, many years, I would assume. But we were talking about Moses earlier, and Dorcas we have Dorcas societies, that has sprung up from that. Some of you are familiar with them. But God asked Moses, "What do you have in your hand?" And Moses had a rod. And this is not an original talk, by the way, but Dorcas had a needle in her hand. She used what she had, right? Number 8. Oh, you're gonna like this one. Become debt free. Why in the world did I put? Somebody's gonna tell me why I put that in there.
Peace of mind.
Scripture in the Bible says, "Oh, no man anything."
That's true. The Bible does say that. Shakespeare says neither a borrow nor a lender be.
Because you can't serve 2 masters.
Yeah.
If you're trying to serve the Lord, then your money is going to your debts.
And I think
you're debt free, what you could do with that money for serving the Lord.
See, that's why I put that in there. I know being debt free is not easy, but it's something that it takes a long time. It can be a mission, because it's going to turn into a mission, because you're going to have money to freely give to those in need if you're not paying it in interest. So it's not a class in financial responsibility, but don't forget about that one.
Well, that's something though that's good to have as church figured out with this financial.
And the last one I put is be the person God wants you to be. I think we're aware of things. We're aware of our shortcomings to some degree, right? I mean, we don't know them all. But we know the things that we would like to improve in. We know the things that when we read, we wish we hadn't have read it, because now we really need to do something with it. It pricks our hearts to change. So that one I put in, that's a lifelong mission there. I guess continual improvements, if you want to put it in modern terminology. And my final thought is consider writing down your possible missions that you would like to do. Discuss them with your friends, and see if we as a church, we as elders can help you with those. Don't be afraid to discuss them, even if they're lofty. That's it. See you in a week's time for our last lesson in this series.